3-year-old boy with incessant cough and vomiting after drinking a toilet cleaner from a cold drink bottle kept at home. So here, at the first glance, we would like to see whether the child is hemodynamically stable or unstable. If the child is unstable, then we would immediately go for resuscitation and stabilization of the child. If the child is unstable, we have to look for certain points like whether there is airway affection, like upper airway involvement, like local laryngeal edema would give us stridor or coarse breath sounds. Then we would like to see for lower airway affection, is there any respiratory distress, intercostal retractions would indicate parenchymal involvement, and suprasternal retractions would indicate any upper airway involvement. Then we would like to see whether the CNS is affected, whether the child sensorium is normal, whether there are any signs of shock or signs of dehydration. And lastly, we would also like to see whether there are any signs of perforation, like esophageal perforation, GI perforation. So this is a quick glance to see whether the child is unstable or stable. So now if the child is stable, then we would like to go to the further history, like when was the consumption done, like whether it was 2-3 days back or whether it was immediate and the cough and the vomiting started immediately. How much was the consumption, like do the parents know how much, was it diluted fluid or undiluted, or how much ml the child consumed? So that just we can have a grave, of the severity of the problem. Then what was the liquid? Like this particular liquid was kept in a cold drink bottle. So whether the main container or the big container of the actual toilet cleaner was kept and stored, and they know what kind of liquid it was, so that we can just get the contents of the liquid and accordingly manage the child. Was any local management done? Like many people would give some CARDA or something to cause emesis. So was anything of that sort done? Any local hospital measures were done, whether some drugs were given to the child before referring the child to us. Once the history is, from the history we would also like to guess the severity of the problem. Like anatomically, if we would like to see whether the airways are involved, like the child is having incessant cough over here, so it could be either a reflex cough because of upper airway irritation, or it could also be because even the progressively lower airways have been involved because of aspiration. Then we could see whether there is upper GI involvement. Here there is vomiting, so there should be gastritis in this child. Lower GI involvement could be seen, whether we should see whether the child is having melena associated with it. That would of course be a later complaint, but still. Then CNS involvement we'll see, as I already said. The sensorium we'll see. Then for the CVS, like for any electrolyte imbalances and all would cause any arrhythmias or tachycardia or any bradycardia or arrhythmias. Renal involvement, like there is any oliguria, because we know that some complications, renal complications like acute tubular necrosis or something would cause complications. And lastly, we'll also see metabolic complications when electrolyte disturbances could cause metabolic complications. In the respiratory system, we would like to see obviously we'll see whether there is respiratory distress, whether there is cyanosis, that we would like to see the saturation. The upper airway involved, if the upper airway is involved, then we would like to straight away go for prophylactic intubation. And if the lower airways are involved, then we would like to do a ABG and see whether the oxygens and the saturations are well maintained. For the GI, we would like to see the onset of the vomiting, how severe was the vomiting, was it associated with hematemesis, how many episodes, then does the child also have associated melena, and has this recurrent vomiting caused any dehydration to the child. Coming to this, after a quick history, then we would like to do the investigations accordingly. First would be, we would try to collect a sample for forensic studies, but here I do not say that please induce emesis or do gastric lavage. We would also like to make a medico-legal case, MLC, in this patient. We would see SpO2 first, saturation. We'll see chest X-ray, but not immediately. That could be done after 6 hours to see whether any aspiration has taken place. If we are suspecting of any perforation, then we would also do an erect abdomen X-ray. Of course, we'll do the serum electrolytes and if required, the ABG and LFT. So for the management, the initial stabilization, we will see the airway, breathing and circulation. If the airway is not maintainable according to our PALS criteria, then we would like to go for intubation. And then later comes the circulation part, we'll get an IV access to large bore IV access. Then we'll start with maintenance IV fluids or push in NS accordingly the child is dehydrated. And the child should be kept NBM. Antiemetics and the proton pump inhibitors are the mainstay of the treatment. The role of charcoal is questionable because nowadays it is not really recommended. The important message is we do not induce emesis in this case because we are suspecting either a corrosive poisoning. Either it could be acidic or alkaline, but in such cases we would not induce any emesis. There's no role of gastric lavage. We would then correct the electrolyte imbalances. We also have to know that there is no specific antidote, so we have to do symptomatic management only. And keep reassessing the child, whether the child is developing any complications or further complications. So what could be the possible solutions in the drinking bottle? It could be either a hydrochloric acid, it could be a chlorine bleach. Hydrochloric acid will be acidic, it could be a bleaching agent, alkaline agent, phenols could be there, and citric acid could be there. In the management, I missed on, immediately when we get the child, then we would first try to decontaminate the child from the environment. Like if the clothes and all are spilled, we'll change the clothes. If anything, if the solutions are left in the mouth, then we'll try to clean that first. So we'll first try to decontaminate. That point I had missed. In the complications, we'll see immediate complications and remote complications. In immediate complications, we'll always have to monitor for development of ARDS, development of pneumonias, shock, and perforation, which is a rare possibility. Perforation could be either esophageal, which could cause mediastinitis, or it could be a GI perforation. Remote possibilities, like we do get children with recurrent vomiting, and we get when we probe into the history, then we get a past history of consumption of such. For remote complications, we have to look for stricture. When do we call a surgeon? For immediate, if we suspect a perforation, and for late complications, for stricture, where stenting is to be done.
Would you like to ask the parents to go and buy a sample of the fluid that was at home so that you can actually see it?
Okay.
In which exceptional condition will go for gastric lavage?
In which?
Exceptional condition in this case.
In this case.
Maybe there is OPP contamination.
Open contamination.
OPP, organ of phosphorus
OPP.
contamination.
Yeah, but this was a toilet cleaner.
The situation was toilet cleaner, so we'll give it to.
Which is the most common poisoning or ingestion?
Ala consumption.
Alap. Now, most of the toilet cleanser, they write it. Not a serious thing, except HCl, which requires your all management. Rest of the things, toilet cleanser, almost you can do stomach wash, I feel, and they are absolutely well immediately, no mortality. No morbidity.
But most of them are corrosive.
You see, most of, I think she has rightly pointed out that aspiration should be attempted in these patients, actually.
If you are really seriously suspecting a large volume consumption, that rather than thinking about the accidental consumption, you should think about the homicidal tendency. I think this is important point. The 3-year-old child will not be able to consume the larger volume beyond few ml. I mean, if you feel that the parent had come with a bottle of toilet cleaning being emptied, very unlikely.
That one aspect is different, but here is if the child has consumed a large volume. In that case, would you do a small guided try to remove off the fluid if the volume consumed is large? Is one thought.
No, it
so we
cannot
would
be
always
possible.
not try to bring out the solutions
you
because
see,
it will
the smell as well as the taste is so bad that. Okay.
No, I was saying that we would never try to bring the solutions back up, and because it could anytime be aspirated or cause local corrosions.
Not only that, now you are putting the tube.
We could cause perforation, because induced perforation.
Is there a role of steroids in treatment of corrosive ingestion? Number one question. What is the role of endoscopy? At what stage would you advise an endoscopy in a corrosive ingestion?
Steroids as such are not indicated.
Ma'am,
And the endoscopy is generally done after 6 weeks.
No? Dr. Thapa, you want to comment on that?
I think endoscopy, once the patient is stabilized, you have ruled out perforation, you have taken care of the, breathing airway and so on, you can go ahead with the, as early as possible.
So
for the
typically within 48 hours you can do. After that the chances are high. Then you wait 6 weeks to see if there any stricture formation. But to grade the injury, you would want to do an early endoscopy once you're sure there's no perforation.
Okay.
It has a direct,
Yes.
actually connotation in terms of management.
Yes.
So you can't keep patients on fluids or corrosive PI.
Okay.
एंडोस्कोपी करके जब थापा साहब बोल रहे हैं आपको 48 hours, you can go up to 72, but don't cross it.
No.
The priority is here.
It's as early
So
as.
you will decide on that. We don't go into those nitty-gritties now. What is the classification? How do we decide? But endoscopy is done.
Yes, go ahead.
Accidental ingestion of unwanted objects is quite common. Do we report all these cases for
So in a
medical legal
clinical,
purpose?
in a
Is
institute,
it practical
we do-
in private practice? Even at all? I doubt.
Yeah. Okay. No, can I? No, okay. I can ask you a few of the things actually. I think be quiet actually. So she has covered largely very well, but there are few hints I think you will like to, I will like to know, because once the corrosives are ingested by the baby, most of the time it's overspilled also. You have to look into the skin around the oral cavity and also on the chest sometime, and the clothes, and also look at the oral cavity, ulceration, bitish things and so on and so forth, and drooling of the saliva because of the lot of edema around. So these 4 or 5 things you have to look into before going further. Of course, the respiratory problems you have tackled very well, and also about the perforation you have presented very well. I think the role of surgeons and so on you have taken care of. Yes.
I have a few.
Yes.
Not only the toilet cleaner,
Yes.
but caustic soda.
Yes.
धोबी का बच्चा वो तो वो खाता है पीता है नहीं सच है we have seen we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
second thing is सुनार का बच्चा aqua regia नहीं होता है वो लेते हैं उसमें toilet cleaners is another thing which is very important. If you see Egypt, lot of children actually reports are mostly from on caustic soda because they preserve and store the soaps in their houses. A lot of soaps are there. This is a big thing. Actually, Egypt में बहुत ज़्यादा है. So all these things, there are many other things. And now today's world, in India also we are seeing. One is the accidental ingestion in children. Another is suicidal now. Child has not performed well in class 10, class 9, class 8, and they go and consume the acid in an attempt to kill themselves. So this is another story which is evolving now in our country. So caustic is very important.
So my 2 pennies worth on your presentation. You were a very, very safe pediatrician, fantastic. But in corrosive ingestion, you don't encounter many respiratory issues at all. You have corrosive ingestion. If somebody is dyspneic, in 100% of the time there has been a perforation. So this is more often an ingestion. So the intubation thing never ever arises in corrosive in the acute stage. It's a very, very rare thing.
So in
So-
this
No,
case,
no,
there was
no,
incessant cough in
Srinivas,
this case.
this is, in
When
fact,
you do pediatric GI, then
yeah.
who's going to-
No, thing is that respiratory problems are very often encountered. If you go to the pediatric emergency, 1 or 2 patients are lying because of the tracheostomy done, everything, they come with obstruction. Yes.
One more point.
Corrosive.
In one of the slides, she had mentioned charcoal query. The point.
She contradicted. I
Yeah,
mentioned that.
so-
She said it used to be given. Now it is not.
So the concept is basically corrosive is local action and it acts within seconds. Unlike organophosphorus poisoning where it will absorb and effect is on CNS or neuromuscular junction, here everything occurs in a minute. So there is no role of any wash, gastric lavage or charcoal. There is no role of this.
Correct. तो इसको छोड़ दें.
Sir, is there any role of endoscopically placed tube into the duodenum for further feeding? Because within a day the child...
Correct, no. That is what Dr. Thapasai was saying. When you do endoscopy within about 48 hours and see that there is a very significant erosion and feeding into the stomach may not be a great idea, then occasionally during the same scopy, we would be able to pass a tube into the duodenum so that to give feeding for a longer time.
But
And I think visualization of the stomach during endoscopy is also important. Sometimes if the stomach is involved, your future surgeries, if they are needed, would have to be, changed accordingly. Yeah, grades of,
That is beyond the scope of
Yeah.
this
This
session.
session.
Yes.
Grades of injury.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you have to put trial tube actually. So.